Claire Donovan knew something was wrong the moment she entered her empty house. Call it intuition, or perhaps the slight displacement of objects. Her husband's designer watch positioned differently on the entryway table, the faint smell of an unfamiliar perfume lingering in the air. But the beautiful craftsman-style home they had lovingly renovated together now felt like it held secrets in its walls. She set her leather briefcase down and kicked off her heels, massaging her aching feet after a long day of client presentations. "Joffrey?" she called out, though she knew he wouldn't answer. Her husband had texted earlier that he'd be working late at his architecture firm, something that had become increasingly common over the past 3 months. The house echoed back only silence. Claire moved toward the kitchen, her stockinged feet padding softly across the hardwood floors. At 39, she had built a successful career as a marketing executive, carefully balancing her professional ambitions with her marriage to Joffrey Donovan, the rising star architect whose sleek, sustainable designs had graced the covers of architectural magazines. Their life together was enviable, at least on paper. The reality of the past few months had been quite different. As she poured herself a glass of Cabernet Sauvignon, Claire's phone chimed with a notification. It was an email from Sofia Alvarez, her college roommate, and still one of her closest friends, despite the busyness of adult life. Sofia had recently opened a boutique coastal inn called Seaview along the California coast, about a 2-hour drive north of the city. The inn was the realization of Sofia's lifelong dream, and Claire had been thrilled when her friend had invited her to become a silent partner in the venture. Joffrey knew about their friendship, but had no idea Claire had invested in the property, as she had used some of her inheritance from her grandmother to do so. "How's my favorite marketing genius?" Sofia's message read. "Need your brilliant eyes on these promotional materials when you have a moment. Also, miss your face. Coffee next week?" Claire smiled and was about to respond when she noticed another notification, a text message from their shared credit card company alerting her to a recent charge. She tapped on it absently, expecting to see one of Joffrey's usual business lunches or material purchases for his architectural models. What she saw instead made her breath catch in her throat. A reservation confirmation from Seaview Inn for this coming Saturday. A deluxe oceanfront suite with a private hot tub. Claire's hand began to tremble, wine sloshing dangerously close to the rim of her glass. Joffrey had told her he would be attending an architectural conference in San Diego this weekend. She hadn't questioned it. Why would she? Despite the growing distance between them, despite the late nights and the changed passwords on his phone, some part of her had refused to entertain the thought that her husband of 8 years might be betraying her. "No," she whispered, setting the glass down before she could drop it. There must be an explanation. But even as she thought it, more pieces began falling into place. The lingering scents in their bathroom that weren't hers, the sudden interest in his appearance, new clothes, a different haircut, increased time at the gym, the way he turned his phone screen away when she entered a room, the mysterious phone calls he took on the back patio, voice lowered to a murmur. Claire sank onto one of the kitchen bar stools, her mind racing. She opened her laptop and logged into their shared credit card account, scrolling back through months of statements. There it was, a pattern she had somehow missed or willfully ignored. Expensive dinners on nights he claimed to be working late, a jewelry purchase from a high-end boutique that she had never received, several charges from hotels within the city. Her hands were steady now as she picked up her phone and called Sofia. Her friend answered on the second ring, her voice warm and bright. "Claire, I was just thinking about you. Did you get my email?" "I did," Claire replied, working to keep her voice even. "Sofia, I need to ask you something, and I need you to be completely honest with me." There was a brief pause before Sofia responded, her tone more serious. "Of course. What's going on? Do you have a reservation this weekend for Joffrey Donovan at Seaview?" Another pause, longer this time. "Claire, please, Sofia. I need to know." Sophia's sigh carried through the phone. Yes, a reservation for 2. Checking in Saturday morning. Checking out Sunday afternoon. The deluxe oceanfront suite. She hesitated. Claire, I'm so sorry, but he's made reservations before. 3 times in the past 2 months. Always with the same woman. I wanted to tell you, but I wasn't completely sure. What woman? Claire's voice was barely audible now. I don't know her name. Young, blonde, very attractive. They seem familiar with each other. I've been trying to figure out how to tell you, but I didn't want to hurt you without being absolutely certain. Claire closed her eyes, the pain sharp and immediate. Thank you for telling me now. What are you going to do? Sophia asked gently. Claire was silent for a long moment, the wheels in her mind already turning. I'm not sure yet, but whatever it is, I won't be the only one hurting when this is over. Kitty? After ending the call with Sophia, Claire sat in her darkening kitchen, the untouched wine beside her, contemplating her next move. The initial shock was gradually being replaced by a cold, analytical clarity that had served her well throughout her career. She would not break down. She would not become a victim. And she would certainly not allow Joffrey to continue making a fool of her. She picked up her phone again and dialed another number. When a warm, maternal voice answered, Claire felt a rush of emotion that threatened her composure. Martha? It's Claire. I know it's late, but I need to see you. And Jessica and Amanda too, if possible. It's important. Martha Donovan, her mother-in-law of 8 years, didn't hesitate. Of course, dear. Is everything all right? You sound upset. No, Claire admitted, her voice finally breaking. Everything is not all right, but I don't want to discuss it over the phone. Come over now, Martha said firmly. I'll call the girls. Whatever it is, we'll face it together. The drive to Martha's Victorian home in the historic district took 20 minutes. By the time Claire arrived, both of Joffrey's sisters had already gotten there. Jessica, the oldest at 43, was a corporate attorney whose no-nonsense approach to life had always resonated with Claire. Amanda, the youngest Donovan sibling at 36, was a pediatrician with a warm heart and quick wit. The 3 women were seated in Martha's cozy living room, concern evident on their faces as Claire entered. What's happened? Jessica asked immediately, rising to her feet. Is Joffrey okay? Claire laughed bitterly. Joffrey is fine. Better than fine, apparently. He's having an affair. The silence that followed was deafening. Martha's hand flew to her mouth, her eyes widening in shock. Amanda shook her head in disbelief, while Jessica's expression hardened into something dangerous. Sit down, dear, Martha said finally, patting the spot beside her on the sofa. Tell us everything. And so Claire did. She told them about the gradual changes in Joffrey's behavior, the late nights, the emotional distance. She explained about the credit card notifications and the reservation at Seaview. As she spoke, tears finally began to fall, tears of anger as much as heartbreak. I feel so stupid, she whispered. I trusted him completely. You're not stupid, Jessica said firmly. He's the fool, throwing away a marriage to someone like you. Martha reached over and took Claire's hand in hers. My son, I raised him better than this. I'm so disappointed and ashamed. Her voice was steady, but Claire could see the pain in her eyes. What are you going to do? Amanda asked softly. Before Claire could answer, her phone rang. It was Sophia. I should take this, she said, stepping into the hallway. Sophia, hi. Claire, I've been thinking, her friend said without preamble. You know he's booked for this weekend, right? Well, what if instead of catching him in the act or confronting him directly, we do something more creative? I'm listening, Claire replied, a spark of interest cutting through her misery. What if your mother-in-law and sisters-in-law posed as staff at the inn when Joffrey and his companion arrive? I could arrange everything. He'd never expect to see his family there, serving him drinks or cleaning his room. The look on his face alone would be worth it. Despite everything, Claire felt a small smile forming. That's either completely insane or absolutely brilliant. It's both, Sophia said, and Claire could hear the grin in her voice. And the best part? His girlfriend would think he's losing his mind if he starts claiming the hotel staff are his relatives. Come back to my office tomorrow, and we'll plan every detail. When Claire returned to the living room and shared Sophia's suggestion, she expected resistance, or at least hesitation. Instead, Martha Donovan's eyes lit up with a fire Claire had never seen before. I raised that boy to respect women, to honor his commitments, she said firmly. If he's forgotten those lessons, perhaps it's time for a refresher course. I make an excellent housekeeper, you know. I did it for years to put Joffrey through college. Jessica and Amanda exchanged looks, then both nodded. I can handle the front desk, Jessica offered. I worked at a hotel through law school. And I'll take pool and drink service, Amanda added. This is going to be the most educational weekend of my little brother's life. For the first time since seeing the credit card notification, Claire felt a sense of power returning. She wasn't just a victim in this story. With the support of these women, her family by marriage but closer than blood in this moment, she would write the ending herself. There's one more thing you should know, Claire said, her voice stronger now. Sophia's in. I'm actually a part owner. Joffrey doesn't know. I invested some of my inheritance when she opened it. Martha's eyebrows rose, and then she began to laugh, a rich, full-bodied sound that soon had all four women joining in. The release of tension, almost euphoric. Oh, my dear, Martha said, wiping tears of mirth from her eyes. This is going to be a weekend Joffrey Donovan will never forget. As Claire drove home later that night, a plan solidifying in her mind, she felt an odd sense of calm settling over her. The marriage she had believed in might be ending, but she was not ending with it. In fact, in some strange way, she felt like she was just beginning. She arrived home to find the house still empty, Joffrey's side of the bed untouched. Claire changed into her pajamas and slipped between the sheets, her mind surprisingly clear. Tomorrow, she would begin preparations for Saturday. She would call her office and schedule a business trip for the weekend. She would pack a separate bag to take to Sophia's. She would set the stage for Joffrey's reckoning. As she drifted toward sleep, Claire found herself thinking not of what she was losing, but of what she was reclaiming. Her dignity, her agency, her future. The pain was still there, a dull ache beneath her breastbone, but alongside it was something else. A fierce determination to emerge from this betrayal, not broken, but reborn. The following morning, Claire woke with a sense of purpose that had been absent for months. She showered and dressed with particular care, selecting a crimson power suit that she reserved for her most important client meetings. Today, she wasn't facing clients. She was reclaiming her life. Over breakfast, she received a text from Joffrey. "Working late again tonight. Don't wait up." Claire stared at the message, noting the period at the end. So final, so dismissive. She wondered if he had any idea how transparent his lies had become, or if he truly believed she was too trusting or too distracted to notice. Either possibility stung, but she pushed the hurt aside. Today wasn't about pain. It was about planning. At precisely 9 o'clock, she walked into her office at Anderson and Burke Marketing, greeted her assistant with more enthusiasm than usual, and closed her door. Her first call was to Human Resources. "Janet, I need to schedule an emergency personal leave for this weekend," she explained to the HR director, a woman she'd known for over a decade. "Family situation." "Of course, Claire," Janet replied, her voice concerned. "Is everything all right?" Claire hesitated only briefly. "It will be," she said finally, "but I may need additional time next week. I'll keep you updated." After handling the necessary paperwork, Claire called Sophia. "I'm coming to Seaview at noon," she told her friend. "Martha, Jessica, and Amanda will meet us there. We need to walk through exactly how this will work." "I've already started making arrangements," Sophia replied. "Wait until you see what I've come up with." The 2-hour drive north to Seaview Inn gave Claire time to think. She replayed moments from her marriage, searching for signs she might have missed, warnings she had ignored. There had been a time when Joffrey looked at her with genuine adoration, when their conversations lasted until dawn, when they couldn't bear to be apart for even a day. When had that changed? Had it been gradual, like a tide slowly receding until suddenly the shore was bare? Or had there been a definitive moment when he decided their marriage wasn't enough, when she wasn't enough? Claire shook her head, forcing herself to focus on the winding coastal highway. Those thoughts led nowhere productive. What mattered now was what came next. Seaview Inn appeared on the horizon, its elegant Cape Cod architecture gleaming white against the azure backdrop of the Pacific Ocean. Claire had helped Sophia select the property 2 years earlier. A neglected but structurally sound historical building perched on a cliff overlooking a secluded cove. With Claire's investment and Sophia's vision, they had transformed it into a boutique luxury destination that was quickly gaining a reputation among the wealthy, seeking privacy and exclusivity. As Claire pulled into the private parking area, she felt a surge of pride mingled with irony. The place she had helped create had become the setting for her husband's betrayal. Now, it would be the stage for his comeuppance. Sophia was waiting at the entrance, her dark hair pulled back in a neat bun, her olive skin glowing in the California sunshine. She enveloped Claire in a fierce hug. "He's an idiot," she whispered fiercely. "An absolute idiot." Claire returned the embrace, drawing strength from her friend's unwavering loyalty. "Yes, he is, but a predictable one, which works to our advantage." Inside, Sophia led Claire to her private office overlooking the ocean. Spread across her desk were employee uniforms, schedules, and floor plans of the inn. "The Donovans should be here any minute," Sophia said, checking her watch. "I've cleared the necessary staff for Saturday morning. Your mother-in-law and sisters-in-law will have complete access." Claire nodded, examining the documents. "And the suite? Which one is he booking?" Sophia pointed to a corner unit on the floor plan. "The Sunset Suite. It has a private deck with a hot tub, king-size bed, and panoramic ocean views. It's our most requested room for—" She hesitated. "Romantic getaways." Claire's jaw tightened momentarily, but she quickly regained her composure. "Perfect. Let's make sure it's a getaway they'll never forget." A soft knock at the door announced the arrival of the Donovan women. Martha entered first, her silver hair perfectly coiffed, her bearing regal despite the situation. Jessica and Amanda followed, both wearing expressions of grim determination. "Ladies," Sophia greeted them, "thank you for coming. I know this isn't easy, but I think you'll agree our plan has merit." "More than merit," Jessica said, setting her designer handbag on a nearby chair. "It has justice." For the next hour, the 5 women huddled around Sophia's desk, mapping out every detail of Saturday's operation. Martha would handle housekeeping duties, entering the suite during the couple's planned excursion to the beach. Jessica would manage the front desk, checking them in with professional courtesy that betrayed nothing. Amanda would serve them poolside, where Joffrey and his companion had reserved lounge chairs for the afternoon. "What does she look like, this woman?" Martha asked, her voice carefully controlled. Sophia hesitated, glancing at Claire. "It's okay," Claire assured her. "I need to know, too." "Young," Sophia said finally. "Mid to late 20s. Blonde, tall, fit. Designer clothes, expensive handbag. She seems confident, like she belongs with him." Claire absorbed this information, trying to create a mental image of the woman who had supplanted her in her husband's affections. Young. Of course she was young. "Do we know her name?" Jessica asked, ever the attorney looking for complete information. Sophia consulted her computer. "The reservation is under Joffrey's name only, but I did hear him call her Vanessa once. One of my staff mentioned she's been dropping things off at his office. She might work with him." Claire's head snapped up. "Vanessa? Vanessa Palmer? His assistant?" The room fell silent as recognition dawned on every face. "That little—" Jessica began, but Claire cut her off. "It doesn't matter who she is," she said firmly. though the revelation that it was someone so close to their lives, someone Claire had met at office parties, someone she had exchanged pleasantries with, twisted the knife deeper. What matters is what happens on Saturday. Martha reached across the table and covered Claire's hand with her own. "We're with you, dear, every step of the way." As they finalized their plans, Claire felt a complex mixture of emotions: grief for what she was losing, anger at the betrayal, but also profound gratitude for these women who had rallied around her without hesitation. In the wreckage of her marriage, she had discovered the unshakable foundation of family, not the one she had married into, but the one that had chosen her despite blood ties. "There's one more thing," Sophia said, as they prepared to leave. "Claire, I think you should be here too, not just coordinating from afar, but present to witness everything. I have a private suite on the opposite wing. You can watch through our security system, see everything in real time." Claire nodded slowly. "I need to see it, all of it." "And afterward?" Amanda asked gently. "What then?" Claire straightened her shoulders, her green eyes clear and determined. "Afterward, I reclaim my life, starting with telling him it's over." The day passed in a blur of preparations. Claire drove back to the city, packed an overnight bag for her supposed business trip, and left it prominently by the front door. When Joffrey returned home that evening, she greeted him with a carefully crafted normalcy that disguised the storm raging within her. "I've got that financial conference in San Jose this weekend," she reminded him over a dinner she barely tasted. "I'll be leaving early tomorrow morning." Joffrey nodded, his attention mostly on his phone. Right. I've got that architectural symposium in San Diego anyway. We'll both be busy." Claire watched him lie to her face, noting the slight flush on his neck, the tell he'd had since college whenever he wasn't being truthful. Had it always been this obvious? How had she missed it? "Good luck with your presentation," she said, the irony of her words lost on him. "Thanks," he replied absently, still not meeting her eyes. "I'm sure it will be enlightening." "I'm sure it will," Claire agreed, allowing herself a small, private smile. That night, as they prepared for bed on opposite sides of their master bathroom, Claire studied her husband surreptitiously. At 41, Joffrey Donovan was still a strikingly handsome man. His dark hair was just beginning to silver at the temples, giving him that distinguished look that his clients found so reassuring. His tall, athletic frame moved with the confidence of someone accustomed to admiration. Once, that confidence had attracted her. Now, she recognized it for what it often was: arrogance. As they slipped into bed, maintaining the careful distance that had become their norm, Claire felt a momentary wavering. Despite everything, there was history here. 8 years of marriage, 3 years of dating before that. Memories of laughter, of accomplishments celebrated together, of dreams shared in the darkness. Was she really ready to discard all of that? Then Joffrey's phone buzzed on his nightstand. He reached for it instantly, turning slightly away as he read the message. A smile, one Claire hadn't seen directed at her in months, played at the corners of his mouth as he typed a response. And just like that, her resolve crystallized once more. Whatever they had shared was already gone, destroyed not by her discovery, but by his choices long before. "Good night, Joffrey," she said, turning away from him. "Night," he mumbled, attention still on his phone. Claire closed her eyes, not to sleep, but to envision tomorrow. By this time Saturday night, everything would be different. Her marriage would be over, her future uncertain, but undeniably hers again. The thought should have terrified her, but instead, she felt a curious lightness, as if she were shedding a weight she hadn't fully acknowledged she was carrying. Morning arrived with a pale, golden light filtering through the bedroom curtains. Claire rose early, showered, and dressed in casual but elegant traveling clothes. She had packed a separate bag, hidden in her car trunk, with what she would actually need for the weekend at Seaview. Joffrey was in the kitchen when she came downstairs, already dressed in what she now recognized as his Weekend with Vanessa outfit. Designer jeans, a casual button-down that emphasized his broad shoulders, expensive loafers. He was making coffee, his own overnight bag waiting by the garage door. "Early start?" she asked, pouring herself a cup. "Traffic to San Diego," he replied with a shrug. "You heading out soon, too?" "Yes, just about to leave," Claire said, taking a final look around the kitchen. The custom cabinetry they had selected together, the Italian marble countertops that had been his surprise anniversary gift 3 years ago. Would this be the last normal morning in this house? Probably. The realization brought more relief than regret. "Have a good weekend," Joffrey said, kissing her cheek perfunctorily. "Call me if you need anything." "Oh, I don't think that will be necessary," Claire replied, the double meaning of her words lost on him. "I expect we'll both be quite occupied with our respective commitments." Joffrey nodded absently, already checking his phone again, presumably for messages from Vanessa. Claire watched him for a moment, memorizing this version of him, the one who had taken her love and loyalty for granted, the one who had made a mockery of their vows. She wanted to remember this moment, this feeling, whenever doubt might creep in later. "Goodbye, Joffrey," she said quietly, picking up her decoy suitcase and heading for the door. He raised a hand in distracted farewell, not looking up from his screen, not seeing the finality in her eyes or hearing it in her voice. As Claire drove north toward Seaview Inn, the coastal highway unspooling before her like a ribbon of possibility, she found herself singing along to the radio for the first time in months. Ahead lay pain, confrontation, and difficult decisions. But beyond that waited something even more powerful, the chance to rewrite her story with herself, as both author and protagonist. Her phone buzzed with a text from Sophia. "Everything is ready. Martha, Jessica, and Amanda are already here in costume. You won't believe how convincing they look." Claire smiled as she dictated her response through the car's system. "On my way. Let Operation Family Service begin." Seaview Inn looked different to Claire as she approached it for the second time in 24 hours. Yesterday, it had represented betrayal and heartbreak. Today, it symbolized reclamation and justice. The elegant white building perched on the coastal cliff seemed to stand a little taller against the brilliant blue California sky, as if the very structure understood its role in the day's events. Claire parked her car in a secluded spot behind the staff quarters, out of sight from the main parking area where Joffrey would be arriving with Vanessa in approximately 2 hours. Sophia was waiting at the service entrance, practically vibrating with nervous energy. "They're here, and they're amazing," Sophia said, embracing Claire quickly. "Martha, especially. You won't believe the transformation." Claire followed her friend through the back corridors of the inn, her heart rate accelerating with each step. They entered a small conference room that had been converted into an impromptu command center. 3 women turned to face her, and for a moment, Claire didn't recognize them. Martha Donovan, the elegant matriarch who typically dressed in tasteful designer clothes, now wore a simple gray housekeeping uniform. Her silver hair was tucked under a practical cap, and she'd removed her usual makeup and jewelry. She looked like any of the thousands of hard-working hotel housekeepers across America, invisible to guests like her son, unless they needed something. Jessica had transformed equally dramatically. Her power attorney persona was completely subsumed beneath the professional, slightly bland demeanor of a front desk manager. She wore a navy blazer with the Seaview logo, her hair pulled back in a severe bun, a pair of reading glasses perched on her nose. Amanda, the youngest and typically most casually dressed of the Donovan women, now wore the crisp white shirt and black shorts of the pool staff, her hair in a high ponytail, a Seaview visor shadowing her eyes. "Well?" Martha asked, spreading her arms and turning in a slow circle. "Will he recognize his own mother?" Claire felt a smile spreading across her face, the first genuine one in days. "Not a chance. Any of you. It's perfect." Sophia gestured to a bank of security monitors on the conference table. "We've set up cameras in all the public areas and in the Sunset Suite. Obviously, the bathroom is off limits, but we'll see everything else. You can watch from here, Claire. I've also prepared this for you." She handed Claire an employee badge with the name Isabel and a housekeeping uniform matching Martha's. "Just in case you want to get closer to the action," Sophia explained. "No one would look twice at a housekeeper." Claire took the badge, turning it over in her hands thoughtfully. "I might just use this. Thank you." The 5 women spent the next hour reviewing their plan one final time. Jessica would check the couple in, maintaining a professional demeanor while subtly studying their interaction. Amanda would serve them drinks by the pool during their scheduled afternoon lounging time. Martha would enter their room during their planned beach walk to turn down the bed and leave fresh towels, along with a few strategic surprises. "Remember," Sophia cautioned, "the goal is to make Joffrey increasingly uncomfortable without revealing yourselves. Let him think he's going crazy. Let Vanessa think he's unstable. The confrontation comes later, on our terms." A security alert beeped on Sophia's phone. "They're here," she announced, checking the notification. "Black Audi just pulled into the main lot." Claire moved to the monitors, her heart pounding. There on the screen was Joffrey's car, the one she had helped him select 3 years ago as a celebration of his biggest architectural commission. She watched as he stepped out, circled to the passenger side, and opened the door with a flourish. Vanessa Palmer emerged, tossing her long blonde hair over one shoulder with practiced ease. She was everything Sophia had described. Young, beautiful, confident. She wore a flowing summer dress that highlighted her slender figure. Designer sunglasses perched on her perfect nose. As Joffrey retrieved their luggage from the trunk, Vanessa surveyed the inn with a proprietary air, as if she were already the mistress of all she surveyed. Claire's stomach twisted, but she kept her expression neutral. "Jessica, you're up." Jessica nodded, straightening her blazer before heading out the door. Showtime. On the monitor, they watched as Joffrey and Vanessa entered the elegant lobby with its soaring ceilings and panoramic ocean views. Jessica was already positioned behind the reception desk, her expression pleasantly blank as the couple approached. "Good morning, and welcome to Seaview Inn," Jessica greeted them, her voice pitched slightly higher than normal. "Do you have a reservation with us?" "Yes, Donovan," Joffrey replied, placing his credit card on the counter. "The Sunset Suite." Jessica tapped at her computer, the picture of professional efficiency. "Ah, yes, Mr. Donovan. We have you in our premium oceanfront accommodation for one night. And this is—" She looked questioningly at Vanessa. There was a brief, awkward pause before Joffrey said, "My guest, Vanessa Palmer." "Lovely to meet you, Ms. Palmer," Jessica said with a bland smile. "I'll need to see identification from both of you, please." As Jessica processed their check-in, Claire watched Joffrey closely on the monitor. He showed no sign of recognizing his older sister, not even a flicker of awareness. Jessica had altered not just her appearance, but her entire demeanor. The sharp, incisive attorney was completely hidden beneath the pleasant hotel manager. "Your suite is ready now," Jessica informed them, handing over key cards. "You'll be in our west wing, with direct access to the private cove. Breakfast is served in the main dining room from 7 to 10, and the pool area is open until 11 in the evening. Is there anything else I can assist you with today?" "We have a reservation for poolside service at 1 o'clock, Joffrey said, already turning away. "Of course, sir. I've noted that in your file. Enjoy your stay at Seaview." As a uniformed bellhop led the couple toward their suite, Jessica glanced directly at one of the hidden cameras and gave a subtle thumbs up. In the command center, the women watched as Joffrey and Vanessa settled into the luxurious suite. The Sunset Suite was Seaview's premier accommodation, a spacious corner unit with floor-to-ceiling windows showcasing the dramatic coastal views, a king-size 4-poster bed, a sitting area with a fireplace, and a private deck with a hot tub perched on the cliff's edge. "He's splurging on her," Sophia noted, as Vanessa exclaimed over the bottle of champagne waiting in an ice bucket. "That's our premium package." "On our joint credit card," Claire added, her voice flat. "Not for long," Martha murmured, patting Claire's arm supportively. They watched as Joffrey opened the champagne, pouring 2 glasses as Vanessa explored the suite with childish delight. When she disappeared into the bathroom, he checked his phone quickly, probably making sure Claire had texted no last-minute changes to her supposed business trip plans. Claire thought bitterly. "They're planning to head to the pool in about 30 minutes, Sophia said, checking the schedule. "Amanda, you should get into position." Amanda nodded, adjusting her visor. "I'll make sure his drink is extra special." "Nothing illegal," Claire cautioned, though she couldn't help smiling at Amanda's mischievous expression. "We want to unnerve him, not poison him. Just a little extra salt in his margarita," Amanda assured her. "And maybe a garnish that he particularly hates. Did you know your husband despises olives? Says they taste like punishment." Claire blinked in surprise. "I've been married to him for 8 years, and I didn't know that. He's always picked them out of dishes since he was a child," Martha explained. "Just one of those little aversions. I'm surprised he never mentioned it." The realization that her husband's family knew things about him that she didn't sent a fresh wave of pain through Claire. How much of himself had Joffrey kept hidden from her, even in the good years? On the monitor, Vanessa emerged from the bathroom wearing a tiny red bikini, barely covered by a sheer wrap. Joffrey's appreciation was obvious as he pulled her close for a kiss that quickly grew passionate. Claire looked away, focusing instead on adjusting her employee badge. "I think I will join you out there," she said quietly. "I need to see this with my own eyes, not just on a screen." Sophia nodded understanding. "The housekeeping cart is ready whenever you are." 30 minutes later, Claire was pushing a housekeeping cart down the hallway of the East Wing, opposite from where Joffrey and Vanessa were staying. The uniform was surprisingly comfortable, and with her hair tucked under a cap and minimal makeup, she looked nothing like the polished marketing executive Joffrey had left at home that morning. Through her earpiece, she could hear Sophia directing operations from the command center. "Amanda, they're approaching the pool area now. Joffrey is wearing blue swim trunks, Vanessa still in the red bikini with a white cover-up." Claire made her way toward the pool area via a service corridor, emerging onto the sun-drenched deck with its infinity-edge pool overlooking the Pacific. She busied herself collecting used towels from unoccupied loungers, keeping her head down, but her eyes alert. Joffrey and Vanessa made a striking couple as they claimed 2 premium loungers in a private cabana area. Joffrey was still fit at 41, his architect's eye for aesthetics extending to his own appearance. Vanessa looked like she belonged on a magazine cover, her tanned skin glowing in the sunshine. They were beautiful together, Claire had to admit, like 2 perfect specimens designed for maximum visual impact. It hurt, but not as much as she had expected. There was something almost clinical about watching them now, as if she were observing strangers or characters in a film rather than her husband and his mistress. Amanda approached their cabana, order pad in hand. "Good afternoon, and welcome to Seaview. May I get you something to drink?" Joffrey glanced up, sunglasses hiding his eyes. "2 margaritas, please. Salt on mine. None for the lady." "Of course, sir," Amanda replied, her voice pleasant and unremarkable. "Any food with that?" "Not yet," Vanessa answered, already settling back to sunbathe. "Maybe later." Amanda nodded and turned away, but not before shooting a quick glance in Claire's direction. Claire gave an imperceptible nod. So far, Joffrey hadn't recognized his sister any more than he had recognized Jessica. As Claire continued her housekeeping charade, she overheard snippets of conversation between Joffrey and Vanessa. "Should just tell her," Vanessa was saying, her voice carrying on the sea breeze. "It's been months, Joffrey. I'm tired of being your secret." "It's complicated," Joffrey replied, his tone placating. "The timing isn't right. There are financial considerations, the house, her family connections that could impact my business. So it's about money?" Vanessa's voice had an edge now. "That's why you won't leave your wife?" "It's not just money," Joffrey sighed. "It's entanglements. Claire and I have history, but I promise, I'm working on it. Soon. Claire's hand stilled on the towels she was folding. So he had been planning to leave her eventually, just on his own convenient timeline. And apparently, her primary value was the financial considerations and family connections she brought to the table. 8 years of marriage reduced to assets and liabilities. Amanda returned with the drinks, setting them on the small table between the loungers. "1 margarita with salt," she announced, placing Joffrey's drink, complete with 3 olive garnishes, in front of him. "And 1 without." Joffrey stared at his drink, frowning slightly. "I didn't ask for olives." "I'm sorry, sir," Amanda replied blandly. "Would you like me to take it back?" He continued to stare at the glass, a furrow appearing between his brows. "No, it's fine. I'll just—" He picked out the olives with obvious distaste, setting them aside on a napkin. As Amanda walked away, Claire saw Joffrey's gaze follow her, confusion flickering across his features. Recognition hadn't dawned yet, but something was tugging at his awareness. A familiar mannerism, perhaps, or the way Amanda moved. The seeds of doubt were being planted. Claire retreated to a service area to report back to Sophia and Martha. Phase 1 is underway. Amanda's olive trick definitely unsettled him. He was staring at her as she walked away. "Perfect," Sophia replied through the earpiece. "They've scheduled a walk to the private beach at 3 o'clock. That's when Martha will access their room. Jessica reports that Vanessa asked about spa services for later this afternoon. Just her, not Joffrey. We're setting her up with our longest treatment, so you'll have plenty of time for the final confrontation." Claire checked her watch. It was just past 2. 1 more hour until Martha's part of the plan. She felt a curious calm settling over her, like the stillness before a storm. Everything was proceeding exactly as they had planned. By evening, her marriage would officially be over, but she would have reclaimed her dignity and her future. "I'm going to continue circulating," she told Sophia. "I want to hear more of what they're saying to each other." Back at the pool, Claire positioned herself within earshot of the couple's cabana, methodically straightening loungers and replacing towels. Joffrey was now on his 2nd margarita, this one without olives, and his voice had taken on the slightly louder quality of someone feeling the effects of alcohol in the afternoon sun. "Best design I've ever created," he was telling Vanessa. "The Singapore client loves the concept. If they approve the final plans, it will be my first international skyscraper." "That's amazing, baby," Vanessa cooed, though Claire detected more calculation than admiration in her tone. "Will we go to Singapore together when construction starts?" Joffrey hesitated just a fraction too long. "We'll see. It would mean being away for months." "Months with no Claire around," Vanessa pointed out, a petulant note entering her voice. "Just us." "Let's not talk about that now," Joffrey said, clearly uncomfortable. "We're here to enjoy ourselves." Claire had heard enough. She slipped away, returning to the command center where Martha was preparing for her role. "Ready?" Claire asked the older woman, who was adjusting her housekeeping cap. Martha Donovan's eyes were steely with determination. "More than ready. That boy needs to learn that actions have consequences." As Martha headed off to play her part, Claire turned to Sophia. "I want to be there when he returns to the room and finds whatever Martha has left. I want to see his face." Sophia nodded. "We'll position you in the hallway." "But Claire—" She hesitated. "Are you sure you're ready for the final confrontation? It's going to be ugly." Claire looked at her oldest friend, the woman who had stood by her through college breakups, career challenges, and now the implosion of her marriage. "I've never been more ready for anything in my life." The afternoon sun had begun its slow descent toward the Pacific, when Claire positioned herself in an alcove near the sunset suite. From here, she had a clear view of the corridor, but remained partially concealed behind a large decorative plant. The housekeeping cart beside her provided additional cover. Through her earpiece, she could hear Sophia coordinating the final stages of their operation. "Martha is finishing in the suite now," Sophia reported. "Jessica has confirmed that Vanessa has checked in for her 90-minute hot stone massage treatment. Joffrey is still at the beach, but security cameras show him heading back to the hotel. ETA 3 minutes. Claire adjusted her uniform, adrenaline coursing through her veins. What exactly did Martha leave in the room? Sophia's chuckle came through the earpiece. Let's just say she got creative. Nothing damaging or illegal, but definitely thought-provoking. Before Claire could press for details, Sophia continued, "Heads up, Joffrey is entering the building now. He's taking the main elevator to the 3rd floor." Claire straightened her posture and busied herself with the housekeeping cart, arranging towels with methodical precision while keeping her face angled away from the elevator bank. Moments later, the elevator doors slid open, and Joffrey stepped out. He had changed from his swim trunks into casual linen pants and a button-down shirt, his hair still damp from the ocean. He walked with the confident stride of a man who believed the world was arranged for his convenience. As he passed Claire, he didn't spare her a single glance, just another invisible service worker beneath his notice. The dismissal might have stung once, but now it served her purpose perfectly. Claire watched as he approached the Sunset Suite, keycard in hand, completely unaware of what awaited him inside. The door closed behind him, and Claire moved quietly down the hallway, positioning herself where she could hear any reaction. For several long moments, there was silence. Then came the sound of Joffrey's voice, confused at first, then increasingly agitated. "What the hell? How did... This isn't..." Through her earpiece, Claire could hear the audio feed from the suite's hidden cameras. Sophia provided narration for what she was seeing on the monitors. He's found Martha's first surprise. She replaced the champagne with sparkling cider and left a pamphlet about the effects of alcohol on certain male performance issues, Sophia reported, barely containing her amusement. Now he's noticed the bed. Claire wished she could see inside the room, but the audio told her enough. Joffrey was becoming more flustered by the second. "Who's been in here?" he demanded loudly, presumably to an empty room. "This isn't funny," Sophia continued her play-by-play. "He's examining the bed where Martha left a selection of brochures about marriage counseling, divorce attorneys, and, oh, this is brilliant, support groups for men experiencing midlife crises. She also swapped out the romantic turn-down chocolate for antacid tablets and hair growth vitamins." Claire pressed a hand to her mouth to stifle a laugh. Martha Donovan had indeed gotten creative. "He's calling the front desk now," Sophia warned. "Jessica is ready." Through the earpiece, Claire heard Jessica's professional tone answer Joffrey's call. "Front desk. How may I assist you, Mr. Donovan?" "Someone's been in my room," Joffrey said, his voice tight with anger. "My personal items have been moved, and some inappropriate materials have been left here." "I apologize for any inconvenience, sir," Jessica replied smoothly. "Our housekeeping staff would have performed standard turn-down service while you were out, but they shouldn't have disturbed your personal belongings. I'd be happy to send someone up immediately to remove any unwanted items." "No," Joffrey said quickly. "No, that's not necessary. Just make a note that I don't want housekeeping to enter my room again during my stay." "Of course, sir. I've updated your preferences in our system. Is there anything else I can assist you with today?" There was a pause before Joffrey asked hesitantly, "The woman at the front desk, have we met before? You look familiar." Jessica didn't miss a beat. "I don't believe so, sir. I've worked at Seaview Inn since it opened 2 years ago. Perhaps you're thinking of someone else?" "Right, of course," Joffrey muttered. "Sorry to bother you." The call ended, and Sophia's voice came through Claire's earpiece again. "He's rattled, and starting to question things. This is going perfectly." Claire remained in position, watching as Joffrey emerged from the suite a few minutes later, glancing nervously up and down the hallway before heading toward the elevator. His usual confident demeanor had been replaced by a vigilant wariness, like prey sensing a predator nearby but unable to locate the threat. As soon as the elevator doors closed behind him, Claire slipped out of her hiding place and made her way back to the command center. Martha was already there, a self-satisfied smile playing at the corners of her mouth. "You should have seen his things," she told Claire. Expensive cologne, designer clothes, a gift box from Tiffany that I'm guessing isn't for you. The works of a man trying to impress a much younger woman? Claire nodded, processing this information with surprising detachment. The Tiffany box explains the charge I saw on our credit card statement. I may have repositioned it where he can't find it easily, Martha admitted, with a mischievous glint in her eye. Not stealing, just relocating. Sophia, Claire said, turning to her friend, where is Joffrey headed now? Sophia checked the security monitors. Looks like he's going to the hotel bar, probably waiting for Vanessa to finish her spa treatment. Amanda is already in position there. She's taking a shift as the bartender's assistant. Claire considered her options. I think it's time I get a closer look. I want to observe him when he's alone, see how he's really handling all this. With a quick adjustment to her disguise, adding a pair of non-prescription glasses and changing from the housekeeping uniform to a server's outfit Sophia provided, Claire made her way to the elegant hotel bar. The space was designed to showcase the spectacular ocean views, with floor-to-ceiling windows and comfortable seating arranged to face the horizon. At this hour, the bar was relatively quiet, with only a few guests scattered throughout the room. Joffrey sat alone at the bar, nursing what appeared to be a whiskey on the rocks. His posture was rigid, his eyes darting occasionally to the entrance, as if expecting someone, or something, unpleasant to appear. Amanda moved efficiently behind the bar, assisting the main bartender while maintaining a careful distance from Joffrey. Claire took a tray of clean glasses and began arranging them on shelves near enough to overhear Joffrey when he spoke to Amanda. Another, he said, pushing his empty glass forward. Amanda took the glass, her expression professionally neutral. Right away, sir. Was the first one to your liking? Joffrey frowned slightly, studying her face. Fine. It was fine. Have you worked here long? About a year, Amanda replied, maintaining her cover story as she prepared his drink. I'm actually working my way through medical school. Medical school, Joffrey repeated, his frown deepening. My sister is a doctor, a pediatrician. Amanda didn't flinch. That's a wonderful specialty. Very rewarding, I imagine. She set the fresh whiskey in front of him and moved away to serve another customer. Joffrey continued to stare after her, the furrow between his brows growing more pronounced. He pulled out his phone, and Claire saw him open his photo gallery, scrolling until he apparently found what he was looking for, likely a family picture with Amanda in it. He looked back and forth between the phone and Amanda several times, confusion evident on his face. Claire felt a grim satisfaction watching her husband's mounting discomfort. The seeds planted earlier were beginning to sprout into full-blown paranoia. She continued her work, moving around the bar area while keeping Joffrey in her sights. After his second whiskey, Joffrey seemed to make a decision. He paid his tab and headed back toward the elevators, his movements slightly less steady than before. Through her earpiece, Claire heard Sophia tracking his progress. He's heading back to the suite. Vanessa still has 30 minutes left in her treatment. This might be the perfect time for the final confrontation, Claire. Are you ready? Claire took a deep breath, steeling herself. Yes. Have Martha, Jessica, and Amanda meet me at the command center. I want them with me when I face him. By the time Claire arrived back at their base of operations, the Donovan women were already there, having been relieved of their posts by regular staff members. They had changed out of their disguises and back into their normal clothes. Martha, elegant in a tailored pantsuit, Jessica in a casual but expensive sweater and slacks, Amanda in stylish jeans and a blouse. He's definitely starting to recognize us, Amanda reported. Or at least, he's suspicious. He was studying my face like he was trying to place me. The combination of alcohol, guilt, and seeing familiar faces where they shouldn't be is making him question his sanity, Jessica added with satisfaction. Exactly as we planned. Sophia entered with a tablet displaying the security feed from the Sunset Suite. Joffrey was pacing the room, repeatedly checking his phone and glancing nervously around the space, as if expecting more unexplainable changes. Vanessa just finished her treatment, Sophia informed them. She'll be heading back to the room in about 10 minutes. Do you want to confront them together or just Joffrey alone? Claire considered the question carefully. Just Joffrey first. I want him to have to explain to Vanessa why his wife and family are suddenly appearing in what was supposed to be their romantic getaway. She changed out of her server's uniform and back into the clothes she had arrived in. A simple but elegant black dress that projected confidence and control. As she smoothed her hair and applied a touch of lipstick, Claire caught Martha watching her with a mixture of pride and sadness. You know, Martha said quietly, when Joffrey first brought you home, I thought he'd finally done something right in his life. Found someone who was not only beautiful, but brilliant and kind. I was so proud that day. She shook her head regretfully. I'm sorry he didn't treasure what he had. Claire reached out and squeezed the older woman's hand. Thank you for standing with me today. It means more than I can express. We're family, Martha said firmly. That doesn't end because my son made terrible choices. With final preparations complete, the 5 women made their way to the sunset suite. Claire's heart hammered in her chest, but her resolve remained unshaken. They positioned themselves in the hallway, out of sight of the door's peephole. Claire nodded to Sophia, who made the call to Joffrey's room. Mr. Donovan, this is the front desk. We have an urgent matter that requires your attention regarding your room. Can't it wait? Joffrey's irritated voice came through the speaker. I'm expecting someone any minute. I'm afraid it's quite pressing, sir. It will only take a moment of your time. A few seconds later, the door swung open. Joffrey stood framed in the doorway, his expression impatient, until he registered who was standing before him. His face went slack with shock, color draining from his features as he took in the sight of his wife, mother, and sisters, all regarding him with identical expressions of disappointment. Surprise, Claire said softly. Mind if we come in? I believe you and I have some things to discuss. Joffrey's mouth opened and closed several times, no sound emerging. He stumbled backward into the room, and the women followed, Sophia closing the door behind them. What? How? Joffrey sputtered, looking wildly from one face to another. What is this? What are you all doing here? Well, I was supposed to be at a business conference in San Jose, Claire replied, her voice deceptively calm. Just as you were supposed to be at an architectural symposium in San Diego? Funny how neither of us ended up where we claimed to be going. Understanding dawned on Joffrey's face, followed quickly by defensiveness. Claire, I can explain. Can you? She interrupted. Can you explain the hotel charges on our credit card for the past 3 months? The late nights that didn't match your billable hours? The mysterious calls? The perfume on your clothes that wasn't mine? She gestured around the luxurious suite. Can you explain booking this romantic getaway with your assistant while lying to my face about where you'd be? Joffrey's expression hardened. You had me followed? Spied on? Is that it? I didn't need to, Claire replied evenly. Sophia owns this place. I'm an investor. Your reservation was flagged automatically. At the mention of Sophia, Joffrey's gaze snapped to her, recognition finally clicking into place. Your college roommate? Of course. He ran a hand through his hair, desperation seeping into his voice. Look, Claire, this isn't what it seems. Vanessa and I, it's just a fling, nothing serious. We can work through this. Martha made a sound of disgust. A fling? Is that how you justify betraying your marriage vows, Joffrey? I raised you better than this. Mom! Joffrey seemed to truly register her presence for the first time. What are you doing here? And Jessica? Amanda? What is this? Some kind of intervention? More like a revelation, Jessica said coldly. A revelation of who you really are. Joffrey's shock was giving way to anger now. So what was all this? He demanded, gesturing wildly. The hotel staff who kept looking familiar? The olive garnish? The brochures on the bed? You've all been playing some elaborate game with me? Not a game, Claire corrected him. A mirror, showing you exactly what you've become? A man who lies to his wife, cheats with his assistant, and uses his family's money to fund his infidelity. The color that had drained from Joffrey's face now returned in a rush of red. My family's money? I earn my own money, Claire. My firm is successful because of my talent, my hard work. Your firm got its start with loans from your mother and initial clients from my connections, Claire reminded him. That house we live in? We afforded the down payment because of my inheritance. Your car? A joint purchase with our shared assets. Don't pretend you've done this all on your own, Joffrey. He opened his mouth to argue further, but a knock at the door silenced him. All eyes turned to the entrance as Sophia moved to answer it. Vanessa Palmer stood in the doorway, her post-spa glow fading rapidly as she took in the crowded room. Her gaze moved from face to face before finally settling on Claire. You're his wife, she said, her voice small. Yes, Claire confirmed. And these are his mother and sisters. Welcome to the family reunion, Vanessa. Please, come in. I think you should be part of this conversation, too. Vanessa hesitated in the doorway, clearly calculating her options. For a moment, it seemed she might turn and flee. But curiosity, or perhaps a misplaced sense of loyalty to Joffrey, propelled her forward. She stepped into the suite, the door closing behind her with a soft but final-sounding click. What's going on? She asked, moving to stand beside Joffrey, though Claire noticed she maintained a careful distance between them. Not quite the united front of lovers caught in the act. What's going on? Jessica answered before Joffrey could speak. Is that my brother has been exposed as a liar and a cheat. To his wife, to his family, and I suspect, to you as well. Vanessa's perfectly sculpted eyebrows drew together in confusion. Your brother? I don't understand. Allow me to clarify, Claire said, her voice steady despite the hurricane of emotions swirling within her. The woman who checked you in at the front desk? That's Jessica Donovan Chen, Joffrey's older sister, and a partner at Morrison & Ellis law firm. The woman who served you drinks by the pool is Amanda Donovan, his younger sister, and a pediatric surgeon at Memorial Hospital. And the housekeeper who left those interesting brochures on your bed is Martha Donovan, Joffrey's mother. With each introduction, Vanessa's eyes widened further, her gaze darting between the women and Joffrey, who stood rigid with a mixture of anger and embarrassment darkening his features. You've been following us? Vanessa asked, a note of indignation entering her voice. Spying on us? That's invasion of privacy. Privacy? Martha echoed, her aristocratic eyebrows rising. My dear, you've been sleeping with a married man. I'm not sure the moral high ground is yours to claim. Vanessa flushed, her composure cracking. Joffrey told me his marriage was essentially over. That you, she looked at Claire, were distant and career-obsessed and hadn't been a real couple in years. Claire felt the accusation like a physical blow, but refused to show it. Is that so? How interesting, considering we attended his firm's holiday party together last month, took a weekend trip to Napa 3 weeks ago, and have been discussing having children this past year. She turned to Joffrey. Were those discussions before or after you began sleeping with your assistant, darling? Joffrey's jaw worked as he struggled to find words. Claire, this isn't... We should discuss this privately. Not like this. Why not like this? Claire challenged him. You didn't seem concerned about privacy when you were bringing another woman to a hotel paid for with our joint credit card. You didn't worry about discretion when you were kissing her by the pool at a property I partially own. Vanessa's head snapped toward Joffrey. What does she mean? A property she partially owns? Sophia stepped forward. Seaview Inn is my establishment, Ms. Palmer. Claire is a silent partner and investor. She has been since we opened 2 years ago. You knew? Vanessa asked Joffrey, her voice rising. You brought me to a hotel your wife owns? I didn't know, Joffrey protested, finally finding his voice. How could I? She never told me she invested in Sophia's place. Perhaps for the same reason you never told me you were sleeping with your assistant, Claire replied evenly. Some secrets are easier to keep than to share, aren't they? The room fell silent, as the weight of Claire's words settled over them. Vanessa had begun edging away from Joffrey, her expression shifting from confusion to dawning comprehension. "How long?" Claire asked quietly. "How long has this been going on?" Joffrey looked away, unable to meet her gaze. 4 months, he admitted finally. 7, Vanessa corrected, her voice small but clear. "It's been 7 months." Claire absorbed this information with a calm that surprised even her. 7 months! More than half a year of lies, of betrayal, of making a fool of her in her own marriage. The timeline meant it had started shortly after their anniversary trip to Hawaii, a trip she had planned as a surprise, a trip where she had thought they had reconnected and strengthened their bond. "I see," she said simply. Then, turning to Vanessa, "Did you know he's been telling me he wants to start a family? That we've been looking at larger houses in the suburbs? That he's been discussing having me cut back on my career to focus on raising children?" Vanessa's face paled. "No, he told me you were both focused on your careers, that you didn't want children." Her voice hardened as she faced Joffrey. "He said you'd agreed the marriage had run its course but were staying together for appearances and financial reasons." "Appearances and financial reasons," Claire repeated, the words bitter on her tongue. "How romantic." Joffrey made a frustrated sound. "This isn't helping anything. Yes, I lied. To both of you. I made a mistake." "A mistake?" Martha interrupted, her voice sharp as a blade. "Forgetting to pay a bill is a mistake. Burning dinner is a mistake. Systematically deceiving your wife for more than half a year while pursuing another woman is a choice, Joffrey. A series of deliberate choices." "Mom, please," Joffrey pleaded. "This isn't your business." "You made it my business," Martha replied firmly. "When you involved your family in your deception. When you lied to me about where you were spending weekends. When you used the values I tried to instill in you as a shield for your dishonorable behavior." Jessica stepped forward, her attorney's instincts evidently taking over. "Claire has all the evidence she needs for a fault-based divorce that would be very much in her favor, Joffrey. Hotel receipts, credit card statements, eyewitness accounts, even surveillance footage from this very inn. Not to mention the testimony of your mistress, should she choose to cooperate." Vanessa's head snapped up at the word mistress, her eyes flashing with anger. "I am not anyone's mistress. I was led to believe his marriage was over in all but name." She turned to Joffrey, tears of anger and humiliation welling in her eyes. "You told me you were just waiting for the right time to tell her that once the Carson project was complete, you'd file for divorce. Was that a lie too?" Joffrey's silence was all the confirmation she needed. Vanessa grabbed her purse from where she'd dropped it on entering the room. "I can't believe I fell for this," she said, shaking her head. 7 months of my life wasted on a man who couldn't even be honest about his dishonesty." She glanced at Claire. "I'm sorry. I truly didn't know the extent of his lies, though that doesn't excuse my part in this." With that, Vanessa turned and walked to the door, pausing with her hand on the knob. "Don't call me, Joffrey. Don't text. Don't come to the office. I'll have my desk cleared out by Monday, and my letter of resignation emailed to HR. She looked at him with disgust. "I'd rather be unemployed than work another day for a man like you." The door closed behind her with finality, leaving an awkward silence in its wake. Joffrey stood alone now, physically isolated in the room in a way that mirrored his sudden social isolation. His shoulders slumped as the full impact of the situation appeared to hit him. "Well," Amanda said after a moment, "that was actually more satisfying than I expected." Sophia cleared her throat. "I think perhaps I should give you all some privacy for the remainder of this family discussion. I'll be in my office if you need anything." She squeezed Claire's arm supportively before slipping out, leaving the Donovans to settle their affairs. Claire took a deep breath, finding her center. This confrontation had gone even better than she had anticipated, but the most important part was still to come. She opened her purse and removed a thick envelope, placing it on the coffee table between herself and Joffrey. "What is this?" he asked, eyeing the envelope warily. "Divorce papers," Claire replied calmly, already drawn up by Jessica's colleague who specializes in family law. All they need is your signature. Joffrey barked a laugh of disbelief. You can't be serious. You expect me to sign divorce papers right now, without even reading them or consulting my own attorney? The terms are quite generous, considering the circumstances, Jessica informed him. Claire retains the house and her investments, including her stake in Seaview. You keep your architectural firm and your personal assets. No alimony in either direction. A clean break. And if I refuse? Joffrey challenged, a flicker of his usual arrogance returning. Then we do this the hard way, Claire said simply. A public, contested divorce with all the evidence of your infidelity presented in court, your clients finding out, your professional reputation suffering, your personal life becoming gossip fodder for the entire city. Martha stepped closer to her son, her expression a complex mixture of disappointment and residual maternal concern. Don't be a fool twice in one day, Joffrey. You've already lost so much. Don't lose your dignity as well. Joffrey looked at each face in turn, his mother's disappointed but resolute expression, Jessica's cold professional assessment, Amanda's open contempt, and finally, Claire's calm determination. Whatever he saw there seemed to deflate the last of his resistance. Fine, he said, reaching for the envelope, but I want it noted that I'm signing under duress. Noted, Jessica replied dryly, though I'd argue the only duress present is the consequence of your own actions. Asathith, as Joffrey reviewed and signed the documents, an uncomfortable silence fell over the room. Claire watched the man she had loved for more than a decade, trying to reconcile the Joffrey she had married with the stranger before her now. Had he always been this person, and she had simply failed to see it? Or had he changed over time, transforming so gradually that she hadn't noticed until it was too late? It's done, Joffrey said finally, sliding the signed papers back across the table to Claire. I hope you're all satisfied with your little sting operation. Satisfied isn't the word I'd choose, Claire replied, gathering the documents. But it was necessary, not just for me, but for you too. You've been living a double life, Joffrey. That kind of deception exacts a toll, even on the deceiver. Joffrey's laugh was hollow. Spare me the psychological analysis, Claire. You got what you wanted, the moral high ground and the house. What I wanted, Claire said quietly, was a husband who honored his vows, a partner who respected me enough to be honest, even when the truth was difficult. What I'm settling for is my freedom and self-respect. Martha approached her son, placing a hand on his arm. You need to leave now, Joffrey. Find somewhere to stay tonight that isn't here. We can talk tomorrow, when you've had time to reflect on your choices. Joffrey shook off her touch. Talk? About what? How my entire family conspired against me? Humiliated me? No, Martha replied firmly. About how you're going to rebuild your life and your character after this. About how you're going to make amends, not just to Claire, but to yourself. Because the man I raised you to be would be ashamed of these actions. Joffrey had no response to that. He gathered his belongings in silence, the weight of his family's judgment visibly heavy on his shoulders. At the door, he paused, turning back to Claire. I did love you, he said, his voice softer than before. I know you won't believe that now, but it's true. Claire met his gaze steadily. I believe you did, in your way. But love without respect and honesty isn't enough? It never was. After Joffrey departed, the four women remained in the suite, the tension slowly dissipating like fog under morning sun. Amanda was the first to break the silence, pulling a bottle of champagne. Real champagne, not Martha's substituted cider, from the mini refrigerator. I think this calls for a toast, she declared, locating glasses. To Claire, who faced betrayal with more grace and strategic thinking than anyone I've ever known. To Claire, Jessica and Martha echoed as the glasses were filled and distributed. Claire accepted the champagne, a complex swirl of emotions making it difficult to speak for a moment. Relief, sadness, vindication, and beneath it all, a curious sense of lightness, as if a weight she hadn't fully acknowledged had been lifted from her shoulders. "Thank you," she said, finally, looking at each woman in turn, "for believing me, for supporting me, for helping me face this with dignity instead of just anger. We're family," Martha reminded her, echoing her earlier words. "That doesn't change because of this. But everything else will change," Claire said, the reality of her new situation beginning to sink in. "I'm starting over at 39. Jessica shook her head firmly. "Not starting over. Starting anew. There's a difference. You're not back at square one, Claire. You're beginning a new chapter with all the wisdom, experience, and strength you've gained. Plus," she added with a small smile, "you have us." The distinction resonated with Claire. She wasn't the same woman who had married Joffrey 8 years ago. She was stronger, wiser, more self-assured, and she wasn't alone. A knock at the door announced Sophia's return. She entered bearing a tray of hors d'oeuvres to accompany the champagne, her expression curious. "Is it done?" Claire nodded, raising her glass. "It's done. The papers are signed." "Then I'd like to propose a different sort of arrangement," Sophia said, setting down the tray. "Since you're now officially single and a part owner of this place, why not stay for a while? The owner's suite is available, and God knows this place could use your marketing expertise to reach its full potential." Claire blinked in surprise. "You want me to work with you at Seaview?" "Not just work with me. Be my full partner," Sophia clarified. "You invested financially, but I've always valued your business sense more than your money. Take some time away from the city. Help me make this place the premier boutique destination on the coast. Consider it a transition period." The offer was unexpected, but immediately appealing. The thought of returning to the house she had shared with Joffrey, sleeping in their bed, seeing reminders of their life together in every room, it filled her with dread. But here, in this beautiful place overlooking the Pacific, with her closest friend and a fresh challenge to focus on, here she might actually begin to heal. "I'd need to take a leave of absence from the firm," Claire mused, already considering the logistics, "and figure out what to do with the house long-term." "All manageable details," Martha assured her. "The important thing is that you do what's right for you now, not what's convenient for anyone else." Claire looked around at these women who had stood by her through her darkest moment. Her friend of 20 years, her mother-in-law who had chosen her over blood ties, her sisters-in-law who had become true sisters in spirit. For the first time since discovering Joffrey's betrayal, she felt a genuine smile spread across her face. "To new beginnings, then," she said, raising her glass, "and to family, the kind we choose, not just the kind we're born or married into." "To family," they echoed, glasses clinking in the golden afternoon light. As the sun began its descent toward the horizon, painting the Pacific in shades of amber and rose, Claire stepped out onto the private deck of the Sunset Suite. The ocean stretched before her, vast and ever-changing yet somehow eternal, much like life itself. Endings and beginnings, she reflected, were often the same moment viewed from different perspectives. 6 months earlier, she had believed her life was settled, her future mapped out alongside a man she trusted completely. Now that future had dissolved like a sand castle at high tide, yet in its place lay infinite possibilities, a blank canvas awaiting her design, her vision, her authentic self. Claire took a deep breath of the salt-tinged air, feeling it fill her lungs and cleanse her spirit. The pain wasn't gone, such wounds didn't heal instantly, but alongside it now bloomed something unexpected. Hope. Hope for a life redesigned on her own terms, surrounded by people who valued her not for what she could provide or represent, but simply for who she was. Behind her, the laughter of her chosen family spilled through the open door, Martha recounting Amanda's perfect olive placement, Jessica describing Joffrey's confusion at the check-in desk, Sophia proposing increasingly ambitious plans for Seaview's future. Claire smiled, knowing with sudden clarity that while she hadn't chosen this path, she would walk it with grace, courage, and yes, even gratitude for the painful truth that had set her free. As twilight embraced the coast, Claire lifted her glass one final time in a private toast, not to the end of her marriage, but to the beginning of her most authentic life, a life where she was both architect and inhabitant, designer and dweller, creator and creation. Some endings, she realized, were actually the most beautiful beginnings in disguise. If you enjoyed the story, leave a like and subscribe to the channel. And drop a comment below. What city are you watching from? And if your heart tells you to, feel free to leave me a tip on Buy Me a Coffee. Just check the first pinned comment. Thanks for keeping me company and for the coffee, and I'll see you in the next story.